La Copa Mundial, Copa del Mundo, Schützes Coupe du Monde, Copa del Mundo, Weite Meisterschaft, World Cup 2, the World Cup. For football fans, sorry, I don't mean American football, but football. It is the most prestigious and the most majestic competition in the world. It is played every 4 years. The World Cup hosts the top 32 national teams in the world through a month-long tournament in 8 different groups. The host country is selected by the FIFA's council, and this year it is at Qatar. And the countries we have are Group A, Qatar, Ecuador, Senegal, Netherlands. Group B, England, Iran, USA, Wales. Group C, Argentina, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, Poland. Group D, France, Australia, Denmark, Tunisia. Group E, Spain, Costa Rica, Germany, Japan. Group F, Belgium, Canada, Morocco, Croatia. Group G, Brazil, Serbia, Switzerland, Cameroon. Group H, Portugal, Ghana, Uruguay, Korea Republic. Who will win this year? But how did this sport and tournament come to be? Well, let's take a look at this beautiful game as we get ready to watch the World Cup 2022. Welcome to Untapping Your Potential, where we will share with you motivational stories, motivational figures, comeback stories, and public speaking tips that will keep you growing and inspire you to take action. From American football to basketball, from baseball to hockey, from golf to tennis, even boxing to MMA. I'm sorry, but there is no sport in the world that can compete in significance, popularity, and spectacle other than soccer, or better known throughout the world as football. Every 4 years, the entire world goes crazy over this biggest sporting event, the FIFA World Cup. This international tournament averages over 3 billion viewers, with about 1 billion watching the final. Restaurants, sports bars, coffee shops, and other establishments proudly put the game on so that everyone can enjoy the beautiful game. 18 countries have hosted the tournament, over 80 nations have participated in it, and over 200 nations compete during the qualification stage. But how did it come to be? FIFA, or Federal International de Football Association, is an organization founded in 1904 by representatives of 7 European countries. The Summer Olympics would host a football tournament, and it was certainly one of its shining competitions. But in the 1920s, the Olympics and the FIFA had created differences in how the sport should be handled. As a result, the government body FIFA made plans to organize a World Cup. Since Uruguay won the gold in 1928 Olympics, they were elected to host the very first World Cup in Montevideo. Only 13 countries at the time participated, and at the end, Uruguay won and became the first country to win the World Cup. Since then, the tournament had been held every 4 years, with the exception of the Second World War, but has remained true to its schedule, and it has produced moments that will continue to defy the age of time. For example, in 1950, Brazil versus Uruguay. Brazil had made it to the finals on their own home soil. They were favorites up against Uruguay. But the unexpected upset occurred, and Uruguay defeated Brazil 2-1. But what makes this moment historical is the number of tickets and spectators. The match hosted 200,000 spectators. This is the all-time record for attendance of not just FIFA World Cup match, but any soccer match ever. 1954, Australia versus Switzerland, a game that played at 104 degrees. And guess how many goals were scored? Not 3, not 5, not even 7. The game was 5-4 Austria just at halftime alone. At the end, Austria outscored Switzerland 7-5, making it the highest scoring ever in a World Cup. Now, how those players were able to score at 104 degrees still baffles me. 1958, a football legend was born. Brazil defeats Sweden 5-2 to win the World Cup. But the world would see a 17-year-old boy outclass and master grown men in the World Cup final. Watching him play, score, and cry will go down in history. 1966, the infamous Jeff Hurst goal lifts England past Germany in the final. This game is still debated today. They didn't have the VAR, the video assistant referee, at the time, which brought a lot of questions on the goal. The game was tied 2-2 at a point, but England's third goal hit the underside of the bar, then hit the ground and bounced out of the goal. The referee, after consulting his linesman, awarded the goal, citing that the ball crossed the line when it bounced. Was it a goal or not? I'll let you decide. 1982. Now, who says royalty doesn't have power? Now, I know for a fact, if you're a parent, there are times you would yell at the referee as if you would actually have power to overturn the play. But what about a prince? Kuwait was losing 3-0 against France when someone from the audience blew a whistle. And Kuwait players slowed down thinking it was the referee, but it wasn't. France took advantage and scored a fourth goal. Sheikh Fahad Al-Ahmed Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, Prince of Kuwait, was in attendance and he marched down the field. He protested against the referee and threatened to pull out Kuwait from the tournament if the goal wasn't overturned. Well, he got his wish. France eventually scores again and Kuwait lost 4-0. But hey, that referee was banned from officiating ever since. 1986, the hand of God. Diego Maradona, another legend, became very famous against the English during this one play. The English player attempting to kick the ball out actually kicked it back towards the goal when Maradona jumped as high as he could and supposedly scored a goal with his head. Or so we thought at first glance. The referees were not able to clearly see, despite what the English players clearly saw, and they rewarded Argentina with the goal. After the game, Maradona told the press that the goal was scored un poco con la cabeza de Maradona y otro poco con la mano de Dios, which translates to say, a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God. Argentina eventually won the World Cup that year. 1994, the tragedy of Andrés Escobar. Colombia entered the World Cup as heroes and favorites to win it all. But Andrés Escobar sealed their fate when he scored an own goal and lost to USA. Colombia was eliminated before even playing their last game. The Colombians' legend life was tragically cut short after scoring an own goal in the 1994 FIFA World Cup USA. After an unsuccessful attempt to win the World Cup in 1998, losing to France, Brazil came back with a vengeance and really popularized the Joga Bonita and dazzled millions of fans with their beautiful play with the 4 R's: Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Roberto Carlos, and Ronaldinho. The world was put on notice, and the samba-playing Brazilian team was invincible. Brazil won all 7 matches they played, achieving the highest number of matches won by a team in a single tournament in the history of the FIFA World Cup. Brazil reached the final where they defeated Germany 2-0. 2006, Zidane headbutts Marco Materazzi. Zidane, another legend, will be playing his final game and final World Cup for France. France scores first, giving them the advantage. Afterwards, Italy scores, making the game tied 1-1. Then one of the most shocking moments ever in World Cup history happens. Materazzi exchanges words with Zidane, but nothing to fancy about for sure. Zidane has had enough. He squares up, aims at Materazzi, and drives his forehead straight into his chest. He gets a red and is ejected. His team paid the price, and France would eventually lose in a penalty shootout. Zidane would retire shortly after, making this his last play as a football player. 2010, Ghana versus Uruguay. Luis Suarez single-handedly saves Uruguay from the elimination against Ghana. The Ghanaian misses the penalty, forcing the teams into a penalty shootout, where Uruguay would eventually become the winner. Don't worry, we'll discuss more about this story in another video. 2014, the blowout. Brazil is known for football and having produced many legends in the sport, from Pelé, Zico, Socrates, Romario, Cafu, Rivaldo, Ronaldo, and Ronaldinho, and many more. They were the host country for the 2014 World Cup. Anything shorter than a victory would have been considered a failure. It was the semi-final, and Germany shocked the world, giving Brazil one, if not its worst loss in team history, 7-1. It would go down in World Cup history. 2018, we saw the rise of another star, Kylian Mbappe. The young 22-year-old player came out into the scene in dramatic fashion. The French player dazzled her with his speed, his grit, and unrelenting style of play, determined to win and give it all. France would eventually win the World Cup, defeating Croatia 4-2. The World Cup only comes around once every 4 years, and it's the absolute pinnacle of our sport. It is something we dream about as players. It is the reason why many of us started playing this game. Josie Altador. This beautiful game, this World Cup, is simply not just any tournament or game. It has such cultural, political, and deep significance that no sport can match. But like any other sport, it is a young man's game. It will also most likely be the last World Cup for these great players. Messi, Ronaldo, Luis Suarez, Edison Cavani, Luka Modric, Manuel Neuer, Thomas Müller, Dani Alves, Thiago Silva, Eden Hazard, Jordi Alba, Angel Di Maria, and many others. But let me ask you, who do you think will win this year's World Cup? Who are you rooting for? Let me know below in the comments. As the great Pelé once said, the World Cup is a very important way to measure the good players and the great ones. It is a test of a great player. Thanks for watching this video. How would you like to hear more motivational stories and inconsistent lyrics? Do me a favor and support the channel by sharing, commenting below, and please make sure to like and hit that subscribe button to get the latest updates. Soon, you will be on your way to feeling inspired.